Hey, everybody, it is the Comic Book Gurus. We are back. I say we. I throw myself onto the pile like I have any right to call myself a comic book guru. I'm a glorified button pusher. But the real gurus here are the great Craig Legans, the great rock star Rob, and the multi talented, wonderful Steph, all here. And we're going to talk about the Secret Invasion. Let me call this up here. I saw this great article. It was in Movie Web, and it is by Hannah Lee. What went wrong with the MCU's Secret Invasion? Guys, Secret Invasion, I'll say for my perception, what a tremendous letdown. We'd done an episode, you guys remember, and you were rocking my world telling me what to expect and what was going to happen. And I said, okay, this sounds like it's going to be a return to Winter Soldier and the kind of intrigue and the stuff that we love. And it was not that. So let's go through this a bit. Let's begin with you, as we always do, Craig. What went wrong with MCU's Secret Invasion?
So many things. First of all, I want to point out that I'm totally not a Skrull. This this was supposed to be the project that was going to rescue Marvel, that was going to bring all the fans, the hardcore fans, back because it was intrigue. It was finally Nick Fury, Samuel Jackson gets a show of his own, and it started off great with the death of Maria Hill, and then fell flat. It was not a spy thriller. What should have been a great groundbreaking achievement in the Marvel universe that would spread all across the MCU, just fell flat. Great idea from a great story arc in the comic books that went on for years and had far-reaching effects. Here, this was just a 6-episode show that my issue was they couldn't include as many people as they could. There wasn't
All
even
right, well,
any special
we'll, we'll,
appearance.
we'll flesh out some more because there's a lot to talk about. Let me ask you, Rob. I heard, and this has been proffered by a lot of the people behind the series, that they were just dealing with a lot of there was cost cutting. They were dealing with all sorts of production issues, a lot of cooks in the kitchen. What did you hear, and does anything have validity that you heard that concerns why this ended up being so underwhelming?
I think that budget cuts had a lot to do with it, and I think they forced it away from being the really spectacular thing that it could have been. But I really think it was slow. I liked it. I really did like it, but it was slow, and it didn't portray, and this was, I think, the big problem after watching the whole thing. It did not favor Nick Fury. It made Nick Fury look like a liar, like he made these promises to the Skrulls, and then he didn't do anything. He used them as spies, and so it really kind of made him look a bit shitty.
Yeah,
So
Steph, to that point, and yeah, and what the guys are saying, you can take liberties, but I think, as Rob was just saying, man, Nick Fury's supposed to be the man, and it did make him look weak and shitty.
Yeah.
And give us
Yeah.
your take on the dismantling of a number of iconic characters here, leading with Nick Fury.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to echo what you're all saying. I mean, Steve, I was with you, with that episode. We were both like, we were so excited to see what they were going to do with this. And yeah, it just was slow and fell so flat. And I was excited to see, Nick Fury back, front and center. And then like what Rob said, they just like made him just such a different character. I mean, he didn't get, his coat and his eye patch until the second to last episode of the series.
Right.
So the whole time he's kind of like slugging through. No one believes him. He really doesn't get like who he is back until the end. Even the the big fight scene with Gravik and Gaia was even lackluster. I was like, I kept waiting. I was like, there's got to be another scene. Like this
Well,
can't be the
I'll roll
final
some
fight scene, right?
some-
And
yeah,
it was.
I'll roll some video on that so we can review that because that was a complete mind F. Let's start back at the top of the roster with you, Craig. The Rhodey situation, and Steph was just talking about Nick Fury wasn't Nick Fury. Rhodey's Skrull reveal. Explain the logic behind this. Is this in the original comic book run? Was this what happened? And is this the chronology in which it happened?
No, it
No.
wasn't. Rhodey wasn't a Skrull in the comics. A lot of Marvel people were, and the Skrull invasion in the comics took place way back, in the 60s and 70s. With these guys, with making Rhodey a Skrull, and his reveal that he was in a hospital gown, made the fans believe that he was taken right after his accident in Civil War when he had to learn how to walk again, that he was taken from the hospital then, which would mean that the real Rhodey doesn't know Tony Stark is dead, didn't fight in the Avengers Endgame war,
Well,
and
let me read
wasn't.
this here. Let me read this here on the
Mhm.
page, and this is exactly what you're saying. Because of this, many fans have theorized that Rhodey has been a Skrull since Captain America: Civil War, and director Ali Selim even confirmed the theory in an interview with Comic Book. This would drastically change every appearance of the character since then, making extremely heartfelt moments. And I think a lot of fans were upset by this, including Tony's death in Endgame, lose much of the impact.
Agreed.
Yeah.
If they could change that, amend that to they took Rhodey after that, after the funeral, that would make more sense and it would make fans less angry.
Yeah, I mean, again, they've taken liberties over the anytime something ports to a movie, you do adjustments and you change things, and there's things that I mean, I think the Harry Potter movies are sensational, but I know purist Harry Potter novel readers who still haven't gotten over the things that were left out of the 55 million words worth of text that didn't make it
Exactly.
into the movies. And
Yeah.
it's just always going to be the case. So but here it seems like these were really arbitrary. And speaking of what you were talking about, Steph, concerning the that final battle, which
Oh, it
saw
could have been
the
so cool. It
but
just
it
wasn't.
also let me ask you guys, and we'll go to you, Rob, on this, and Steph, you'll
Yeah.
follow up. So this battle is the creation, we learn, of now this new, incredibly powerful character in the. There's such a wild imbalance of powers now, and I'm looking at like, wait a second. So we had obviously Emily Clark playing Gaia, and she gets into the battle with Gravik, and this is what we're witnessing here. But you have this whole they're just giving her everything, and it's like,
Yeah.
what? Explain.
Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the shitty version of Nick Fury that at the end of Endgame, he took everybody's blood and they called it the harvest.
Right.
And, so that's not how any of that happened in the comic books. I mean, that's not how a Super Skrull was made. I mean, in the beginning, the Super Skrull, still to this day, the Super Skrull only has the powers of the Fantastic Four, nothing
Yeah,
else.
Oh.
So, other Skrulls can change into everybody, but they didn't have anybody's powers. They had devices that they were using to mimic. Even if you go back to the beginning of Fantastic Four, they were using different things to emulate the power of the Fantastic Four, but they didn't really have those powers. They
Yeah,
could change
it kind of blew my mind to realize that in one fell swoop she'd become more powerful than Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and there was no. Again, I think this is something that happens a lot in this. It's all shorthand. It's like when you suddenly pick up all the skills required of a great lightsaber fighter just by picking one up. It's like, no, I mean, we're used
Secret
to seeing
Invasion, yeah,
we're used to
made
seeing people struggle with the acquisition or the realization, and this is basically like Emily Clark basically put on a coat and found a whole bunch of superpowers in it.
This was
Well,
more like, this was not Super Skrull. This was more like Super Adaptoid. The Super Adaptoid was from the Avengers, and
I had adaptoids, and they're very painful.
and if he touched you, he would absorb your powers. So he
Okay.
had
What
all
ma-
the powers. But that's not
what
what a Skrull does.
what made this so what made it so the storyline was, Steve, if they can get the DNA of any superhero, that's you put that into a Skrull, and that's what makes you a Skrull. So they were harvesting the DNA of the superhero. So what if a superhero doesn't have any DNA? Because you can't adapt Iron Man or
Right,
yeah, or
exactly.
it can,
Yeah.
but it made it seem like any hero with a DNA can be put into a Skrull, and that Skrull will get that character's.
Well, I didn't
So
adapt his
you're
DNA, but
significant.
I'm now going to his dry cleaner. So there's no there's no connection. And to your point, Steph, on the final battle, the whole it's over here 1 second. Boom, there we go. Um, some of it looked really good. Some of it didn't look so good. It's clear to you guys, and both you, Craig and Rob, were saying that there were budget issues. They clearly wanted to save a lot for their final load, which is also a pornography term. But in so being, does this not speak? I pose to you. Does this not speak of a larger problem in general with all of these and the sucking of the cash to each one of these and the diminution? Yes, I use that word of the quality. Is this not, I submit to you, a prime example of why they need to cut back on what they're producing and elevate the general product and make it better? I
That's why
yield the
Disney
floor.
is like,
Yeah.
no. Disney is cutting. No, we're not doing. They just announced there's no WandaVision 2. It's not going to happen.
But I mean,
Um,
the wheel. So they have a number of things already in the pipeline. It's the way these
Yeah.
things work. So when they started to see, and Steph, we've talked about this as they started to
Yeah.
see this stuff start to tank. They're looking behind them at the movies that are ready to be released, going, "Oh shit,"
Yeah.
because they realize they're all linear to what they have released that is not doing well right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
what they
part and
should have
parcel.
done. We talked when we did the Flash episode. We were talking about the multiverse and how directors can fix previous mistakes. They should have just taken the Secret Wars and they should have all the things. They should have made She-Hulk a Skrull. They should have tied everything and then
Oh, there you
that
go.
sucked. But
How about
but she
Yeah.
was a Skrull.
How about this, Craig? And you'll agree. You'll remember this. What if they just did a dissolve, and we see Patrick Duffy getting out of the shower?
Power, yes.
Oh my God. I actually know that reference.
It was
I
all
get
a
that
dream.
reference.
It was
It's
all a
from
dream.
Dallas. It was one of the
Yep.
great. They literally erased an entire season
Season of
because
the
the fans hated it so goddamn much.
Well, let me ask
ahead.
you guys a question real quick.
Yeah.
Since we know in Secret Invasion that they harvest everybody's DNA after Endgame, would it have been better at the end of Endgame if we saw a Skrull on the battlefield? If we actually saw a Skrull back then, like in those little clips at the end after they run the credits,
Yeah.
if you actually saw Skrull, would it have ruined the film, or would that have left you like, oh my God, that's a Skrull?
I
No.
don't know if at this point. I mean, but yes, you know what? Yeah, I think it might have helped. One of the things that I've always disliked is that point, and we have all been there as we're all pop culture fans. Lost is a perfect example. Lost got lost. And no matter how good and that those we're talking really good Lindelof, the really good script writers and people who know how to deliver a narrative and develop characters. And to when you see that happen, David Lynch, Twin Peaks, the TV series, it got lost, and so yeah, I mean, you can. And actually, he tried to correct it with a movie called Firewalk with Me, which came out later, which I thought was actually pretty good and corrected a lot of that stuff. But you got to remember where Kevin Feige and Marvel was, a couple of years ago. They could do no wrong. They were parsing it out the right way. I really think so much of this is involved with this need to release a glut of stuff. Do you agree with that, Steph?
Yeah. 1,000%. I think it's just too much too fast. I'd rather have things spaced out so you can get excited for something. I feel like every time we turn around, there's something new. Oh, there's something new. And you have to have that like level of excitement. I feel like we
Yes.
used to with each of those movies with each thing, but it's like always happening, so you don't really don't get a good build up, and then you get something and then it falls flat. And I feel like that's just been happening. Like
That's
spread things out a little bit, like take your time with it. Maybe not, maybe less is more. Why are we throwing so much money into something for it to still not do well? Like, sit and take your time. We'll be fine. We can chill until the next thing comes out, because then
no.
if it's good and that works, that momentum I think will help keep things going. More
Well, I can
people will
say
then
this.
watch, and then
To that point, though, Steph and Rob didn't and accurately say they are cutting back a lot. But Rob,
mhm.
I'll pose that what Steph just described is an very austere return to what it used to be. While I'm sensing from, and you're right, they're cutting back a lot. They're not. I hate to say this, but they're not cutting back enough. So it seems weird on this end when we were begging, please do some. We're begging, be careful what you wish for. But I think
Mhm.
the thing that Steph is describing was that excitement. Oh my God, I cannot
Yeah.
wait in a couple
Yeah.
months. And you never felt you were out of the loop because you missed a series. And you never felt you had to
Right.
play catch up because you'd missed it. There was that we're all in this together journey. That
Mhm.
dynamic meant a lot. Craig,
Yeah,
agree? You agree with that?
I do agree with that. And when it was back to just two Marvel movies a year, we were starving.
Yeah.
Give us
Mhm.
more. Now we're up to three movies and four TV shows a year.
All right, guys. So here we are. What can we expect with the Marvels? Because this is all leading to the Marvels, we're told. I'm sorry, get so emotional. Craig, what can we expect from the Marvels now seeing the Secret Invasion?
We can expect a sequel to Secret Invasion from the Marvels, and as well as a sequel to Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel. This movie will bring us back to what we loved about the MCU in the first place. I guarantee it. I'm hoping, at least.
All right, Rob, can you make that guarantee knowing that if both of you are wrong, I will full blown slap you in the face?
Well, I don't want to get slapped in the face, so I can't be sure of anything because it's it's all like a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
Different directors. Look, two Thor movies, the same kind of format. One kind of tanked. One is like the best movie ever. So like you don't know. It's going to be the weight of the time when it comes out.
It's the luck of the draw, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no,
right.
you're great. Listen, we've had this discussion before. I'll say it again. There hasn't been. I haven't walked out going, "That was the worst piece of shit I've ever seen." But it's almost worse. I walk out saying, "Oh, they really could have done something with that, and they missed the boat." And like they were there, they showed up. It's like I put on my suit. I didn't have to go to church. So it's like a wasted opportunity. There's another archival reference.
Mm.
Putting on your suit, dude. But yeah, it's like a one room schoolhouse, or when when the medieval knights used to battle. Let me take it further back in time. Um, Steph, your hopes for this the Marvels movie.
Yeah, I mean, the hopes were there.
Are,
I
are
feel
are you encouraged
God.
by Secret Invasion?
No, but
No.
I
Yeah.
think but I think because it's a movie and not another show, I have more
Yeah.
hope that I'll be more entertained by it. I liked Captain Marvel, so I'm happy to see her again, kind of do her thing. And interacting obviously with Miss Marvel and everybody else. But like I said, I think just the fact that it's another movie, not another show, I have higher hopes that it'll be better.
All right. I think that all sounds good. I want to remind everybody to subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate you supporting it. As I say every time, we're trying to get everything up and running. I'm merely a vessel to deliver you, the great comic book gurus. And obviously, there's so much stuff going on right now. I will have to see what the writer strike does as far as chilling,
Mhm.
the amount of content out there. But it seems to be still coming fast and Nick furiously. and we'll take it from there. But again, leave comments. We have an episode coming up. We're going to start to do a lot more interacting. That means live episodes where you can offer us your much more educated opinion, at least in my case, and we'll be thrilled to do that. So again, thanks so much for checking us out, guys, and we'll see you next time on the Comic Book Gurus.